Have you ever felt just empty? It's an awful feeling. A lot of times when I will meet with a family who's had a loss, I'll ask them, "How are you doing?" And they'll say, "I don't know, Father, I just feel empty." Even just hearing that, don't you feel a twinge of it? Just hearing someone say that, it's such a hard feeling. And that's where we are in the story of Jesus' life and death and resurrection and ascension. He has been filling the life of his apostles for a long time now. And they lost him for 3 days, and they got him back, and they're so grateful. And he is what fills them. And then he's taken up to heaven. And we're in this in-between time where Jesus has departed, but the Spirit has not yet come. And so they are left feeling empty. If you have ever felt empty before, or if you just deal with like a low-grade emptiness that you're not sure what to do with, you're in good company, because that is part of the human experience. And it is not a mistake. That emptiness that we feel is there on purpose. We are meant to have an emptiness inside of us. We think we're supposed to be filled up, but that's not true. God leaves a space in us that is meant to be kept empty. We don't like it, but that's by design. Why we have that empty spot is something that has confounded Christians for a long time. But the Celts said it very well. They said this: inside of every human being is a hole, and it's a God-shaped hole. It's in the shape of God. It can only be filled by God. We don't like that hole, but we sense it being there, and we want it filled. So we often fill it with busyness and hobbies and pleasures and addictions, but none of those are meant to go in there. Only God. God fits in that hole like a key in a lock. And whatever we try to put in that hole that is not God will not fill it. This was Matt Duclos' second full week with us for his summer assignment as a seminarian. So one morning, I took him on a little drive around our vicariate. We're part of an association of parishes from Columbia and Greene counties, the Hudson Valley Vicariate. So I drove him around to introduce him to some of those places that he might not know. So I took him to Athens. I took him to Catskill. I pointed out where Cairo was. We crossed the bridge. I pointed out where Germantown is. And we stopped in Hudson. And while we were there, we stopped at Holy Trinity Church in Hudson. And I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but if you're ever down that way and you've never been inside, you really ought to go. It is just beautiful. It's like a Gothic basilica. It's just remarkable. Probably when people go there, they expect to see a bishop, like it's a cathedral. But it's the parish church in Hudson. And it has huge ceilings and grand walls and windows and big aisles. And as we were walking around, we just kept saying over and over again, like, wow, wow. Which is what you do when you're in a big, empty basilica like that. And that got me thinking, why is it that when I'm in a big, empty, beautiful church, even a smaller but beautiful church like this one, why is it that I love the space of it? I love how high the ceilings are. I love the grandness of it. I love seeing the emptiness of it because it's meant to be filled with people and prayer. But why is it that when I find space inside of me, I hate it? I don't want it there. I want it filled. We would never want to fill this church with junk just so it would be full. But a lot of times that's what we do with ourselves. Are we willing to try to see this differently? Recently, I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I was pouring out some of my pastor problems to her. And there were a couple of particularly tricky things that I was dealing with, and I told her about them, and she said, "Honey, I'm going to pray for you." So the next week when I called her, she asked how things were going and got the full update, and then she said, "Well, just remember, I've been praying for you." And then she said something that really shocked me. She said, "And I've been fasting for you too." Now, just to be clear, we're not a fasting kind of family. The Vanderveers do not look forward to Ash Wednesday, if you know what I mean. So she really got me with that. "I've been fasting for you." She stopped eating to make some space inside of herself for my needs. She allowed herself to be empty, to be hungry, so that that gnawing could make room for my needs. That's what fasting does, which is exactly why I hate it, right? I don't like that. I don't want to feel empty. But that's why it's so powerful. Her fasting meant so much to me. So the work that we have to do this week is pretty clear. We all have a hole inside of us that is God-shaped. And we are being called to get in touch with that God-shaped hole. And we are meant to allow it to stay empty so that it can be filled by the one thing, the one presence that is meant to fill it, which is God. Anything else will be a lesser joy, and it does not belong there. What is it that you find yourself filling that God-shaped hole with? Is it a nightly glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine just to take the edge off? Is it food? Is it shopping? Is it busyness? Do you hate that feeling of emptiness so much that you just keep your schedule so full and so busy that you just collapse at night and you don't have time to feel it? And then when the alarm goes off in the morning, away you go again. A lot of us have that because we're not comfortable allowing it to be empty for God. I have friends in my hometown who live in a beautiful Victorian house, and I only get to go there maybe once a year. They're antique collectors, so every time I go, they have some new pieces to show me. They've redecorated a room, and they have a new rug, and a new ottoman, and a new bowl to show, and it's beautiful. They are so talented. But one day when I was there, I said, "You know what gets me about a hobby like this is, it's never done. You guys will always have more to do. A collector always has another thing to get, or another approach to take." And the husband got serious with me for a minute, and he said, "It's funny you say that, because it's been starting to bother me that there might not be an end to this." He said, "Sometimes I think that we think we're furnishing our house, but really we're trying to furnish our soul." If you can relate to that, then you understand that that God-shaped hole is meant to be kept empty. So, are you feeling some of the emptiness? Do you feel some of that? If you do, good. You're in the perfect place to make some room for God. So let's allow that emptiness inside of us to be as spacious as a cathedral. Let's make it as open as an airplane hangar. And then let's invite God in to fill it.